Akademiks can't ride no wave.
Now, if you don't know Lil Zay Osama, I remember watching Lil Zay Osama flex on all the niggas in Chicago recently. He was showing off his rented mansion, the Lambos, and all that type of stuff. And I remember he was going back and forth. I don't know if he remember even when he was going back and forth with Wack. You know, he was showing that he was living pretty good. You know, he was living pretty good, right? Look, he was saying he was up a lot of money, and people were like, "How the hell? Here he is teaching somebody how to drive a Urus." Okay.
He said, "Roll the window down." Press it.
Okay. Basically, he's been in California, and a lot of people thought the lifestyle that he's living right here, the lifestyle that he's
Lil
living.
Zay Osama just dissed the guys who stole his watches, saying 5 people died because of it.
2 watches got stole. About 5 lives got took. Now run and tell that.
Yeah, so he was doing a lot.
Hey, Zay.
He was doing a lot, and supposedly I was being told a lot of things. Yo, he just signed a new record deal. But I got to be honest. In the videos that I've seen of him, he was looking like he was having it his way. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was posting a lot of videos in California, him living out there or staying out there for a while, and looked like he was getting a lot of money. Okay? Let me see. Lil Zay Osama responds to... He was responding to a bunch of people, but like I remember watching him like, damn, how he got all his money now? Anyway, I say all that not to like hate and shit like that, but I say that to say he looked like he was doing good, or somebody at least believed in his rap career that he was living a very prosperous life. Let me see. Lil Zay Osama flexing it. He was flexing a lot too. Where is it at? Maybe I can't find it no more.
Bitch on the back. Yeah, them boys do what they be telling them. Dick.
Yeah. So he was flexing like a motherfucker, you know? Okay, anyway. Especially after he supposedly got robbed by like Lil Durk's homies. Anyway, the news just came out that Lil Zay Osama is among 6 that's federally charged in a Winnetka, I think that's the pronunciation, home invasion. The Chicago rapper Lil Zay Osama is among 6 facing federal charges on the allegation they conspired to ransack a North Shore home for money, and that they held a person at gunpoint to see the plan through last month. A superseding indictment was unsealed Tuesday night after a 4-hour detention hearing in Rockford for the defendant Isaiah Dukes, who's now known under the alias Lil Zay Osama. After the marathon hearing, he was ordered to be detained while he awaits trial. The defendants have each been indicted on conspiracy to commit robbery and kidnapping. The conspiracy charge holds a maximum sentence of life, while the kidnapping charge is punishable by up to 20 years in prison. Alongside Dukes, there's a bunch of other people that are charged as well. All these guys are from Chicago. Keel Dukes of Elgin, Anthony Ramsey, 22 of Chicago, Deshaun Brown, 24 of Chicago, David Franklin, 24 of Chicago, and Jalen Chambers, who is 24 of Bourbonnais. According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office, court filings from separate litigation indicate that Kale Dukes is Duke's brother. Okay, so I guess that is let me see. That is so Lil Zay and his brother is locked up, and supposedly they're half brothers. All 6 has pled not guilty. Now let me give you some more details on this. A 7th defendant was arrested Tuesday, and federal charges are pending. Right? Let's figure out what happened. So this, according to the head of the Chicago office of the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, and Explosives, they said in a written statement that his agency and other law enforcement partners were on this case from the very beginning. Okay? They said home invasions strike at the core of an individual's most basic right to safety, security, and privacy in their own home. The case initially was made back early in March when a group of armed men and masked offenders forced their way in a Winnetka home after one of them posed as a food delivery person to gain access to the residence. So somebody act like they was with DoorDash. Chat, that's one of them things, man. I be like, yo, DoorDash, Uber Eats, man, tell them to leave. You got to hit the option that says leave the food and get the fuck out of here, you know? The offenders proceeded to hold the resident at gunpoint as they demanded items from the home. The resident escaped, but by the time the police had responded, the home invaders fled. The newly unveiled 7-page indictment paints a more detailed account of the March 8th invasion. Prosecutors allege that Brown, Franklin, Chambers, and 2 other unnamed co-conspirators forcibly entered the residence and held the person captive for about an hour. As they physically restrained them and threatened them with firearms, they demanded the resident give them access to a safe, a computer, and online accounts for cryptocurrency. Chat, this is like a new age type of thing. I've heard about this, you know, in one of the situations with Polo G's brother. He robbed somebody and forced the person to send him money over Cash App and PayPal. It's like, what? These robbers really are now trying to force you to electronically transfer money, not just taking cash and physical items they can sell. They're like, yo, open your crypto wallet, nigga. Like, I can't even imagine that conversation. Open your crypto, nigga. Let me see that Coinbase, nigga. Like, open that Robinhood. I don't know what the fuck they got going on, but yeah, so that's the thing. So they had the guy go through a safe, a computer, and online accounts holding cryptocurrency. Prosecutor further alleged that in their indictment that while inside the home, Chambers called Dukes, okay, so Dukes, we got to assume is Lil Zay Osama or his brother, and an unnamed co-conspirator who provided him instructions on how to obtain the cryptocurrency they sought. So it looked like Lil Zay Osama was not there, but they called Lil Zay Osama to get instructions on how to either, I don't know, maybe Lil Zay Osama gave them a wallet that they could send the money to, the cryptocurrency, or somehow told them how to get the cryptocurrency from this guy. So eventually they fled the residence in a stolen vehicle, but they later met up with both Dukes, which is, the first Duke is Lil Zay Osama, and his brother, Ramsey, and other co-conspirators who checked to ensure all the proceeds from the robbery was collected. Brown, Ramsey, and Franklin was arrested on the 22nd, and Zay Osama was arrested 3 weeks later in April. Apparently, Lil Zay Osama was initially released pending trial by a magistrate judge, but the U.S. attorney filed a motion to revoke the order. A docket for the case shows the case was then transferred to the U.S. district judge in Rockford, and Johnston, the Judge Johnson opted on Tuesday to overrule the magistrate release orders. They called Lil Zay Osama the puppeteer in the home invasion, which they said inflicted terror on the victim and the community. After hours of examining the possibility of releasing Lil Zay Osama to a third-party custodian, the judge ultimately ruled that there was convincing evidence that Lil Zay Osama could fail to appear at future proceedings and that he presented a danger to others should the proceeding order stand. The judge pointed out that Lil Zay Osama's criminal behavior and his history also played a part. Federal and state court records show that Lil Zay Osama has a long criminal history dating back to when he was a juvenile. In recent years, he had a 2022 misdemeanor conviction for unlawful possession of a firearm. Towards the end of 2023, he was arrested after leading the police in a high-speed chase. He later pled guilty to one felony count of aggravated fleeing. And in 2024, he was sentenced to 14 months after he pled guilty to possessing a illegal machine gun while in New York City 2 years prior. The defense filings in the New York case lays out Lil Zay Osama's path in the music industry. They say he started looking up the people in the television music because he, okay, whatever. All right. Okay. So Lil Zay Osama is accused of having his homies run up in somebody's crib and robbing them. And not only robbing them for what they had in the safe, but in some way also robbing them for what they had in cryptocurrency and in online accounts. Now, I'm going to tell you, if this is provable, Lil Zay Osama is probably fucked. And I'll tell you why. So the robbery and the kidnapping, obviously those are serious crimes, right? Ones that carry up to a life sentence, but there's potential other superseding indictments that could come down. Anytime you deal with online accounts and people having to transfer money, that's automatically a Fed charge. and that's usually wire fraud. So there's potential wire fraud charges that could come down, and obviously this case was brought by the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearm, and Explosive, which is the ATF, which means they probably have some type of, drop on what weapons were either used or something of the sort, because that's where the ATF usually specializes in when they could, they monitor all the guns, firearms, explosives, as the name suggests. So it's kind of looking that it's going to be a tough uphill battle for Lil Zay Osama, but I'm hoping that this is all fake. We've been watching him recently. The nigga been looking mad rich and flashy and icy. I'm hoping he's been getting that money legally. And I do want to say the rappers who aren't really streaming much, the police start kind of looking into what you're doing when you seem to be having a decent amount of money and they can't tell where it's coming from. It's one thing if you have a lucrative rap career, which I'm not saying Lil Zay Osama is just not shit, but he hasn't been the most poppin' rapper recently. So when they've seen him living a certain type of life, I could imagine, they probably thought whatever's going to happen. Also, we should think about this. He's been in LA a lot. I'm wondering why he had guys run in, according to the feds, he had guys run into a Chicago person's house, though. I'm wondering if they knew the person. Were they beefing with the person? Is this an op? It's a person cooperating. I would imagine the person's cooperating, but yeah, he's been in LA, but I guess he had his Chicago guys run up in some Chicago person's house. Interesting. All right. We'll get to it, but pray for Lil Zay Osama if you enjoy his music. Obviously, I do enjoy his music, but I don't think he makes the best choices. We saw him go back and forth with a couple of people in LA and not LA, I mean Chicago, and what was clear to me back then, he basically admitted that he was ready to crash out. And when people start talking like that, I like to get the fuck away from him. But I thought he was just talking like tongue-in-cheek, like he really wasn't going to crash out. Maybe this was a crash out. Never know. Also, I guess the last warning and just like PSA here, I see there's a lot of rappers that really do believe that if they participate in crime because they fund it or they're not at the scene, these cops are going to just let them get away with it. The police are not dumb, all right? They're going to get the guy who sent the hit, not only the people who did the shooting, right? If people are calling you during the home invasion, you're giving them instructions during the home invasion, and right after the home invasion, they go right back to your house to bust up the profits. Yes, you're going to get charged too. The feds don't have to be that smart to put it together. So you not being there actually doesn't do all that much, right? And clearly a judge believes there's enough probable cause. He did get a bond from magistrate judge. They pulled it when he got to the district judge. So we'll see. Pray for Lil Zay Osama. All right. Chat, I'm not going to lie.